That's why I think it's really important to trust your teacher too. Is he passionate enough to go with you to competition? Is he screaming his fucking lungs out and fighting for you? I'm the guy. In grappling industries, they hate me. Every coach hates me because their students cannot listen to their teachers because I'm over screaming like a crazy guy. I think it's important too, that you fight for your students no matter what. So if they have me in a corner, they know they have me in a corner. And I'm not sleeping somewhere at the bench or something, yeah.
Welcome to Forever White Belt. I'm your host, Adolfo Fronda. I'm delighted to welcome Ralf Warneking to the podcast. Ralf is a jiu-jitsu black belt, IBJJF NoGi World Champion, and the first European to receive a 10th Planet black belt under Eddie Bravo. After spending 11 years mastering the system from white belt to black belt at 10th Planet headquarters in Los Angeles, Ralf returned to Germany to bring the 10th Planet training system to Europe. He now teaches at 10th Planet Berlin in Spandau, where he shares his passion for health, nutrition, kettlebell training, and self-defense. Ralf is a highly qualified fitness educator with a degree in natural medicine, a certification as a personal trainer from the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and a diploma in sports movement and sports medicine and nutrition. He incorporates his extensive knowledge into his training regime, private classes, and dynamic seminars. Ralf has also earned a black belt promotion in stand-up combat under Victor Cole. Throughout his career, Ralf has achieved remarkable success in various competitions. He was crowned NoGi European Champion in Amsterdam in 2018, and he won the IBJJF NoGi World Championship twice, once in the brown belt super heavyweight division and once in the brown belt open class division. Ralf also claimed the IBJJF NoGi World Championship in 2009 in the purple belt super heavyweight division and came second in the purple belt open class division. He won the Grappler's Quest World Series in the advanced cruiser division and the OTM Championship in advanced absolute division in 2009. Aside from its impressive athletic achievements, Ralf is also an advocate for clean sport and is strongly opposed to the use of performance-enhancing drugs in any form in competition. You can find his training content, inspiration, techniques, and nutritional recommendations on his Instagram and YouTube channel. I'm excited to have Ralf on the show to share his insights on jiu-jitsu, his experience as a 10th Planet black belt, and his passion for health and fitness. And with that, I give you Ralf Warneking. Ralf, welcome to the show, brother.
How you doing, buddy?
All right. For some of you that may not know, Ralf is a longtime 10th Planet black belt. He is in Berlin right now in Germany. And I've been following you, man, for a long time, just sort of stalking you since the early days of mastering the system, watching the videos. I was one of the early subscribers of Eddie's, whatever the $5, $10 plan it was. So I got to see a lot of your initial sort of training. At least that was videotape that they had on there at headquarters in Los Angeles back in the day. And I thought to myself, initially when I saw these guys doing what they were doing, I'm like, this is a young man's game, I thought. And then suddenly I see this guy, with like silver hair there hanging with everyone. Not only that, he's got an accent. Who is this guy? And I found you really fascinating. So, Ralf, tell us about yourself.
From the beginning, okay? I was born 19th of February 1964. I like Mercedes-Benz, I like lakes, and I like forests because that's where I was produced. My parents have been together for 3 years, and that's me, right? So I grew up on a horse farm. So since I was 5 years old, I had to work physically pretty hard. And before I even started with jiu-jitsu, I was number one in Thai boxing for a year. I trained Hapkido, I trained some judo when I was a kid, and most important thing, I was a bouncer for about 12 years. Rickson Gracie, he claims he has more than 500 street fights. I had more than 1,000 street fights easily. Every weekend we had 20, 30 fights. And so Jiu-Jitsu came up in 1993 when UFC started, and there was in a Black Belt magazine 1996, come train with the UFC champs at Beverly Hills Jiu-Jitsu Club. It's like somebody calling me. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go there, just going to check it out. So 1997, the first time I went to Beverly Hills Jiu-Jitsu Club, and I trained with Bas Rutten, Oleg Tatarov, Marcos Ruiz. Those were all former UFC champions, and Obviously, Bas Rutten heavily on catch wrestling, and Luta Livre was Marcos Ruas, and Oleg Tatarov was a Sambo guy. So my first 3 submission grappling teachers were actually not really Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Luta Livre is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu without gi, but so it was more catch wrestling, which I really liked. Gi was just not my thing. I trained with Marcus Vinicius. He must have the 6 or 7 degree right now, but it was just not my game, and it was just not my thing. I wanted to have something which I can use in MMA and on the streets, because I was a bouncer for so long, high level. I wanted to have something which is fast, which is slick, and Jiu-Jitsu in its purest form. And so I quit training at Beverly Hills Jiu-Jitsu Club after 1 year. There's another famous guy, who came from this school. He's Mark Lehman. You probably know Mark Lehman. So he used me like a dummy because I didn't know nothing about grappling at all. So he was back in the day already blue belt, which was high. In the 1990s, 1999, when I started, it was pretty high. You barely saw any purple belts, right? So it took long, 2 years or 3, 4 years to be a blue belt back in the day. So I didn't feel home there. And so I skipped it. And I started at Hollywood Boxing Gym back in the day, Terry Claiborne, and which was very close to the All Legends Act. Started training with a friend, and we just took Bas Rutten's DVDs and we drilled for 1 year before I entered Eddie Bravo's class. I went to Eddie's place. It was my 40th birthday present. I'm 59 now, so 19 years ago, right? And I went there and it was like awesome, dude. They're smoking weed. I'm a weed smoker. I got a monthly ticket and I got my ass whooped, I think the first 3 or 4 months. So he just opened up his place. It was 2003. After a year already, I could hold my own against his best, already after a year. And I remember one of his famous students, Joe Rogan. He was already, I think, a purple or brown belt when I was a white belt. And he was crawling away from my leg locks. So, because I had those catch wrestling teachers and Sambo and Luta Livre. Luta Livre is heavy in leg locks. Back in the day, I was heavy in leg locks too. So I used leg locks, and they were like, nobody back in the day did any leg locks. Only simple straight ankle locks, but no heel hooks, no real knee bars. Besides the vaporizer and the crouch ripper on banana split, nobody did really leg locks. So I was one of the OGs doing leg locks. And so we go 2 years further. And so it was already at the New Legends now. So I started at the really beginning. It was Bomb Squad, the very, very first location. Then the second was close to Hollywood Gym. So, which was my gym where I did, I made my money with personal. So I have a degree in sports medicine and in nutrition. And I also have a degree in natural medicine, which most of the people don't know. I didn't take it that seriously, but then I got the bug. When I got my blue belt, I said, look, I want to do this until I get my black belt. So I can be the first black belt in Europe, transparent black belt in history. And so in 2008, my visa ran out, and I just got actually my purple belt. And so I decided to overstay. So that's why I couldn't go to America for 10 years. So my time ends now in June. I can go to America again. So that's why my goal is actually end of the year. I want to do IBJJF, the Worlds, and I want to do the NoGi Worlds 1 week before in Dallas. I've never been at the NoGi Worlds as well. So I want to do 2 World Championships in 7 days. So I got my blue belt to black belt all from Eddie Bravo, but I was also heavily influenced before I started with Eddie, with Bas Rutten's system. Oleg Tatarov showed some really cool stuff as well, and Marcos Ruas, the Luta Livre. Myself, as I just mentioned, I had a heavy stand-up background actually, did some grappling as well, but not at this level, right? And so it was very difficult for me with a visa. I went there actually with an acting visa because I was already 35 when I came to LA, and the only area I could study at this age was acting. I never wanted to be an actor, but okay. So I signed up at at a really expensive acting school where I had to stay for 3 years for my visa. Then I extended with LACC, Los Angeles City College, so I got my diploma in movie making, which I never wanted to, but just for the visa. And every year I had to pay for the immigration lawyers about $4,500. And I got a nice job as a bouncer where I made much more money, so I could afford to pay, jiu-jitsu and all my expenses. Then something really bad happened. In 2008, we did an in-house competition. I was a white belt and the other guy was a white belt as well, but he was like 120 kilos. And I did double bagger, there's no muscle control, and the guy exploded up. And both of my knees exploded. So I mean, it's so bad that the doctor told me I will never redo my life jiu-jitsu again. I need a reconstructive operation on both knees. So it took me like 5 months to recover. I did functional strength training. So when you do research on me, you will see some stuff where I do circuit training, functional stuff. I was one of the first guys who did this stuff. So I had like UFC fighters like Alan Joban, like Josh Barnett, behind my apartment on the concrete doing circuit training with me. Kettlebell, I was one of the first using kettlebells for MMA. I, did some cheap sandbags. We worked with sandbags already back in the day. We used ropes already back in the day. And so, all functional equipment. I had like those crazy gymnastic rings in my apartment, a rope in my apartment. So I had this bad injury and I got it myself. After 6 months, I was able to compete. So my very first competition was IBJJF, the US Open, at Long Beach. Never did any competition in Jiu-Jitsu, right? Just came off my injury. And so there was nobody at my age class, so I competed. I was already mid-40s. I competed at adult level and at like 10 kilos heavier. And then my father passed away the next year in March, and I could not go to his funeral because of my visa problems. Because I wanted to stick there around to get my black belt. So I dedicated 1 year of competition to honor my father. The first competition I entered was Best of West OT on the mat, back in the day. They put me in a 30 to 35 year old bracket because nobody at my age class was competing, but I submitted both of the guys. You could have put King Kong there. I would have fucking beaten him because to honor my father, right? It was my second competition ever. Just got right away the first win. And then the third competition was the OTM, the nationals, right? And I had an injury and I could not train for 6 weeks conditioning. And we had like 40 degrees Celsius. I don't know how hot it is, So really, really, really hot, like about 102 or something like this. And it was an exhibition. And I took, I think, like bronze. They put me as a purple belt and all the black belt. And so I realized, okay, if I put a little bit effort in, I could be really good at this. And so, in the end, 2009, I became IBJJF purple belt world champion and runner-up in an open class. And the very first Grapplers Quest World Series they made, I won this one. I won OTM. Out of 7 tournaments, I won 4. And so that was it for me. And I got my brown belt. I received my brown belt from Eddie. And Eddie didn't want to give me my black belt before I not do another competition. So it is 2011. I got my brown belt and I went to the 2011 Worlds. And there I became double world champion. And so Eddie let me wait another 2 years before I received my black belt. Because I was his gatekeeper, right? I was the enforcer. As you already mentioned, I was this guy already Now we're talking about mid-40s and 40s. Whoever came in, if it was UFC fighters or whatever, right, I could handle the situation pretty good. Most of the time I actually put a beating on most of them. So they started to call me in the beginning the Punisher because my technique was not good. So I did everything by power. Then they called me the German Diesel. Then when the first injuries came and I still rolled with one arm and with one leg, they called me the Germanator. So that's why, I have the name the Germanator. I was the very first one they named the Germanator. Eddie wanted me to be humble. I'm not the humblest person you will ever meet because I always knew who I was, right? So every obstacle in my life, usually I could challenge with no problem. Eddie, as I mentioned, he didn't want to give me the black belt first, so I signed up NAGA and I got a Brazilian tap in Santiago. And so I lost, so the guy tapped 3 times, I let go, the guy jumps up, and it's victory, right? And so but we had it on video actually that he tapped, right? And so Eddie gave me the black belt on the 10th year's anniversary because he thought I was humble, but I was not as humble as he thought I was, right? But life humbles you, obviously. So I thought, me as a 3 times IBJJF World Champion, a runner-up, a grappler squares champ, all this bull, right? Nobody gives a F in Germany anyway. I thought I go to Germany, open up a school, and the guy's gonna run in, and I gonna have 500, members in 1 year or less, right? So I entered Germany. I tried to help my mom. My mom lost her second husband due to cancer. Nobody really realized she had beginning Alzheimer's. I didn't have money anymore to start my own business, and so I started teaching jiu-jitsu in Berlin. They took advantage of me, but it is what it is. So I stayed there for 2.5 years, and then another one I made a deal with, and they really fucked me over. They owe me more than 30,000 euros, so I could not pay for nothing anymore. So I was partially dependent on welfare from Germany. That's how bad it was. Just to survive this jiu-jitsu was just impossible, right?
What was the environment of jiu-jitsu in Germany at that time when you were starting, for the listener to understand the struggle of what it is, and also the fact that you were the first 10th planet black belt in Germany, correct?
You're absolutely right. I was the very first 10th planet black belt, European black belt in Europe. I received obviously my black belt originally from Eddie at the 10 years anniversary, and another guy, he got his black belt a couple of months later, Magnus Hansen in Sweden. But what people have to understand, Lucha Livre in Germany is already established for almost 25 years. Not only that, the first picture you will see is when you open up and you look about 10th planet is you see Eddie Bravo, naked upper body with a big joint or a bong in his hand. Germany is a super conservative country here. So you don't talk about if you smoke weed, but you can be drunk, you can be alcoholic. That's okay for society, but now they're trying to change the laws right now actually. So anyway, there was no help obviously. Nobody could really help me. So it was really difficult. I didn't have no money anymore in my pocket. I turned 50 when I came to Germany. So no bank wanted to give me any credit. I didn't have any identity anymore in Germany. I was gone for more than 20 years. I was in LA for almost 15 years. It was very difficult to get my feet even down here in Germany, and the system is totally different. The bureaucracy is our dictatorship here in Germany, right? So it was really, really difficult. So in the end, I had 2 old school friends who gave me some money so I could open finally 4 years ago my own gym, which is still open, which is almost a miracle. Because of the COVID crisis, they closed me down altogether 14 months, but I had all the costs and more than 2/3 of all my members run away during the time, obviously. More than one time I said, I cannot do this anymore, but it was my passion. It's my happiness is to wake up in the morning, to go to my classes and to teach, right? So it's my passion. It's still very difficult. We're still struggling, but I got really lucky. I have a life partner. She is only almost 4 years together. Without her, the gym would have been closed 2 years ago because he supported me financially. The most difficult part is that you build up students and they leave you when they're blue belt, purple belt, or even higher. So that's like the biggest backlash you can ever get. You build up. And so it's not so easy. I don't have any affiliation here. So when I go to any competitions, we are always the outsiders. We have to win by submission. You have a GFT team here in Germany is very, very strong. Yeah, they have always like around 200 to 250 competitors at Grappling Industries, for example, right? And we have maybe 7 or 8 competitors because right now I have about 100, members. That's it. So it's still difficult, but my top students, he just messed up all the elite from Germany, all the, the best guys he just defeated at Grappling Industries. So that's a reality in Germany. In Berlin, we have that's like the most black belts in Europe we have right now, I think, in Berlin. But we are one of the few who only teach NoGi, and we are in an area where it's very difficult to get people, and we have around 100 square meters in mat size. So that's enough for like 25 to 30 people to drill on. Not to roll, but to drill on.
And the name of this area in Berlin, what is it again? It starts with an S.
Spandau.
Right?
Spandau is the outskirts, right? Spandau. I had to drive to my trainer, Eddie Bravo, 1.5 hour one way. So back and forth was 3 hours. That's why I trained at his place usually twice a week in the mornings, but because I had only 2 half days off. And the other time I had 6 square meters at home, and I had brown belts and black belts coming to my place at 5 or 6 a.m. and we rolled for 1 hour. We drilled. I did this for like years to prepare for the Worlds as a brown belt. Had to come a brown. 2 of our best brown belts came at very early morning, so I could roll with them. And I had a dummy. I still have this dummy, and I showed up twice a week.
Going from the beginning, I remember seeing you on like bars outside and playgrounds, working out and doing all this stuff. I mean, you were very fit, and always it seemed like an athlete forever. I could tell, and the way you were very technical. It seemed like with your jiu-jitsu in general, very confident. Obviously, you weren't particularly worried about what other people thought of you. It seemed like, and I think that's one of those superpowers that certain individuals have.
I lost 80% of my former friends.
Not only that, I mean, you went to a system in the early days with Eddie that was very frowned upon, quite frankly, in the jiu-jitsu community at that time, right? So, I mean, you were going to like a groundbreaking, disruptive type of a new thing. At that time, I'm almost hesitant to call it a school, because it was just the initial seeds of what would later become this giant 10th Planet Federation.
It's like still growing like crazy, right? So, because Eddie is a character in those days, being just a good teacher is not good enough anymore. So you have a guy coming in like, dude, I have nothing against John Danaher, right? But John Danaher, what I really hate about, the hype about him is most of the people who go to him, they have been already at least be purple belts. Their purple belts are really talented, or the world class fucking blue belts or so, right? So you put all the work in until, your students go to a guy who is really good in writing stuff as well,
What's unique about 10th Planet Berlin?
So what's really unique about 10th Planet Berlin is, first of all, you have a very, very family-like feeling. So what's really important to understand is we greet on and we greet up. So that's the first line. So we have Muslims, Buddhists, atheists, we have all kinds of religions in our school, and everybody goes along perfectly. We sweat together, we bleed together, we cry together, and we laugh together. So for me, what makes it so special is that everybody who comes in who's a foreigner tells me always it's home for them. It feels like home. So we try to, that was always my goal, to bring people together, to integrate people, to make him smoother, to make him smarter. I mean, for me, jiu-jitsu is the most beautiful and the smartest sports there is, right? More than 2,500 techniques plus movements. So you're never done. You have to become 1,000 years old and you're still not done. New stuff comes up every day, right? Or old stuff becomes new again. Because lots of the new stuff I see in those days, they have been around, since I started jiu-jitsu. Just they didn't have names for it, right? I let my students do circuit training 3 times a week, functional. I help them with nutritional intake so they don't have to take steroids. It's a no for us. Also, we have lots of law enforcement because they're realizing with their traditional training they're not able to defend themselves anymore because they have more and more people on the streets who train MMA. And so we offer MMA only for police and firefighters and stuff like this because they're big in Berlin is pretty crazy. So maybe like LA is very similar, right? So yeah, for me, what's very unique about us is we only teaching jiu-jitsu, NoGi, obviously. We do everything from stand-up. We don't just sitting on our asses. We have a mixture between catch wrestling, sambo, and 10th Planet jiu-jitsu. Or submission grappling. I call it submission grappling. Surely I will be always a soldier of Eddie Bravo, right? Because lots of people complained in the beginning that I was too rough. So lots of the higher belts wanted me to get kicked out. And I'm very, very blessed and I'm very thankful for Eddie. He never kicked me out, right? Because you know how it is. You have a big guy there. So it's like, yeah, that's a reality. So I think our vibe is actually everybody who comes in feels at home. You know, and people who leave, one of my American students just left. We both had tears in our eyes, right? So he still feels home here. He's already 1 year back in America and still feels home here. And that's the kind of thing I wanted to reach. And another goal is that we finally have the first German winning Abu Dhabi. I have a couple of really talented kids now. I'm offering right now 12 NoGi classes a week. So we have a competition class on Saturdays as well. We went from zero, for no competition, no having a chance. We went last time, we were like number 5 at Grappling Industries out of 110 teams. We were by far the smallest. So we took in like 6 or 7 gold medals and with 7 athletes, right? We are not a big team, but we are a very high quality team. But it's very difficult to survive in Germany with jiu-jitsu only. You know, lots of people in Europe who have a jiu-jitsu school have another job. I don't want to have another job anymore. And I'm too old, right? I want to put my energy just 100% in developing some pretty cool young people, helping them for their future, and creating on the buy side maybe some world champions or Abu Dhabi champions.
Just a reminder to please give us a 5-star review on Apple Music and Spotify and become a VIP member for only 99 cents a month. Get ad-free episodes at anchor.fm/foreverwhitebelt/subscribe and check us out on Instagram at Forever White Belt Show. Go buy your Forever White Belt swag at teespring.com/forever-white-belt. Check us out on YouTube now at Forever White Belt. Finally, if you ever get to beautiful Northern California, please come roll with us at North Bay Jiu-Jitsu in Marin County, just north of San Francisco. They're amazing instructors and everyone there are great people. Mention the podcast and get 2 weeks free. What's interesting is you said that you were doing like leg lock type of stuff early on. And I know Eddie didn't even incorporate the leg lock stuff until a little bit later into the experience of 10th Planet. When I look on your website, I'm curious how you're even teaching leg locks now. And what is your simplified leg lock system?
That's really nice, as you say, simplified. Yeah, I try to keep it as simple as possible. It could be happen that you're a beginner, you do a trial out class, and this week we just do leg locks. You know, so we take upper body 2 weeks, lower body 2 weeks. You know, sometimes when we switch it when it's competition time, we do every day some upper body, lower body, upper body, lower body. You know, when we go before competitions, the last 6 weeks. We don't go open end, we do open end rounds, which means I roll maybe with only one guy, but for 45 minutes. But when we do competition, we do 6-minute rounds. So they get used to higher tempo, right, to the speed and everything. So we do lots of reaction time exercises too. So if somebody wants to pull guard, you know, we have an answer, you know. So the whole plan layout for leg locks is that we can play chess from the lower body to the upper body. So we simplify it. We try to do a pass. Pass doesn't work. We have a Hail Mary leg lock entrance, right? Or we do full mount escape and we have right away, we have a leg lock. So we use really bad positions. That's why I learned from Eddie, because Eddie, you know, we are not on top, right? We're working from the ground lots of time from bad positions. So I try to put this system, which I learned from Eddie, into our leg lock game as well. So my top student, he won 6 by leg locks and 1 by choke. And so we have our own system. You know, my guys, they drink 4 days, you know, red beet juice and stuff like this. You know, we have some tricks where we can build up better conditioning. And very important is, most of the people, they just do leg locks. Because I have a background as a chiropractor, we go very in detail. So we had, knocking on wood, in the 10 years I'm teaching now, almost in Germany, only 3 bad accidents. And all those 3 accidents were done after we were done, you know, doing drilling and all this stuff. And I warn people not to, you know, do leg locks, right? So only 3 accidents. Because we go so in detail that you will feel the leg lock far earlier, so you can tap than before it's too late. You know, I see still lots of people who leave toe holds behind, knee bars behind. Even the top guys. I mean, Gordon Ryan just ran into the counter toe hold. I'm like, why is nobody doing this via cartwheel toe hold or a toe hold. When somebody is doing a slappy heel hook, and we are very strong in analyze it too. So when we are done with the competition, I take the victories and the losses. Obviously, all the guys who took a gold medal think they're now Superman, but we try to be very analytical, and then they get homework for the next 3 months. So we know, okay, dude, your fucking back escape is horrible. So the next 3 months, your starting position is you get in the back take position. And then you have to, we work from there.
So you're doing this on the individual level, like the student level. You're identifying, hey, Joe, you suck at the back. Hey, Mary, you're terrible at whatever, stand up or whatever.
Absolutely. And that's how we try to fill the gaps. Joe was a wrestler. He wrestled for 6 years. With Ben Askren for 1 year. So he was just here. He weighs now 97 kilos. I'm only at 82 kilos. It's a huge difference, right? It's more than 40 pounds difference. He was here for 5 weeks and we did 1 hour training 3 times a week in the morning. So we rolled for 3 hours from stand-up position, right? My anti-wrestling is really good, I have to say. I'm just saying, so because the shit I'm teaching, as a teacher, you don't come in those positions very often anymore, right? So the stuff works. I concentrate on him only that he got better in the beginning because he was a wrestler. He's one world-class dancer now. He's very good in dances, very good in shin traps, right? Because it was already there for him, right? So we didn't have to switch nothing much. So if I have somebody who comes from judo, I'm going to use his skills and tune them in so they already have an advantage, a kickstart, right? And so then I go for the weak points. Leg lock game is 99% who come in my gym think, who have good leg locks, they don't have good leg locks. Because the setups are bad, the details are bad. So I approach leg locks as high level as possible, but anatomically correct, so you don't mess yourself up with some bullshit. Because same with rubber guard. I simplified the rubber guard because so many people up to the brown belt level had to get knee surgery. I'm knocking on wood. I would have too if I would have listened to the doctors, but I did everything with functional strength training. And I would say my triangle is 99% back where it was before the injury. And I'm 59 now. I'm still choking the crap out of my super heavyweights. But I'm not using the super heavyweights, the rubber guard. I do pop-up triangle, traditional way stuff. Because it's just too hard on my lower body then, right? And getting older, I mix it up too. One day when I roll usually 4 or 5 times a week for about 40 to 45 minutes. And I do 3 times a week circuit training for 45 minutes. Plus I'm teaching 12 classes. So yeah, I have to eat smart and I have to definitely sleep enough and rest enough. And I do. I start in the morning with 3-4 minute ice cold shower. I do the right things. I do my 16-8. 16 hours fasting, 8 hours, and it makes a huge difference, man. I mean, my skin is still good. I'm below 10% body fat without torturing myself. I have a very high energy level. I can do Kama Sutra with my life partner 5 times a week if I want to, when you know what I'm saying, right? Without any enhancing bullshit, right? That was one of the main reasons I never touched steroids, because I like the Kama Sutra a little bit better than jiu-jitsu. That's
Ralph's an animal, man. What makes a great student?
A great student is a guy who offers you an empty glass.
What do you mean?
It means, who hasn't been in 5 or 6 different gyms already.
Gotcha.
I hate those people, they're never going to take responsibility for themselves. They're always going to blame the trainer or the coach if they don't compete at the level they want to compete. Somebody just, who shows up as often as he can, doesn't trash talk like, Conor McGregor. He has to be clean, because we don't want to have any diseases. You got to cut your fingernails and your toenails, it's just simple shit. Everybody at my gym has to take a shower before they come in. They have to take their own towel, so they sweat on their towel. When we do, in the end, we do stretching and breathing exercises. We greet on, then we do a physical warm-up, then we do technique training, then we roll, then we do stretching as a team, and then we do breathing exercises. Because the problem is, when you run away after you're done rolling, your adrenaline level is so high, you're not coming down, buddy. That's why everybody's smoking weed, right? But if you do the breathing exercises for 5 to 10 minutes, right, in the end, it brings you down, it brings your cortisol level down, your adrenaline level down, because you got to rest, right? The most important thing after you punish your body like this, you have to rest. And you have to put the right nutrition in too. I'm eating barely any red meat, usually white, lots of eggs and stuff, only organic food. No alcohol. I have my organic coffee in the morning. I have 2 double espresso a day. I'm not taking any dirt, put no bad gasoline in my system. So that thing is really important. And the most important thing is you are already, coming into my age range. You're over 50. Look, my grandfather was a very wise man. He was a politician for more than 25 years. He always taught me, Ralf, if you're over 40 and you wake up the next morning without pain, you are dead. End of story. But the thing is, when you think about when you did sport in your life, when you were in your early 20s, everything was hurting too. But when we are over 40, we tell ourselves, right, oh, we are over 40 now. I don't want to handle this pain anymore because I'm old now. It's bullshit. I try not to let the old man inside the door. So I'm thinking still, like, I just got a medical checkup, because I had COVID the second time. And I had heart problems, but it was not my heart. It was just air pressing on my heart, called Röhmheld syndrome. And so they told me I have a heart like a 25 years old. My whole fucking system is like a before 30. Yeah, because I'm eating already almost 25 years organic food. And so I try to drink enough liquid, try to stay away from sugar and this white death, which is white sugar, white flour, table salt, and, white animal fat. And it works pretty good, actually. So far, you never know.
Ralf, conversely then, on the flip side, what makes a great instructor?
A great instructor should be somebody who's able to verify what a single student needs, not the whole group. For me, that's what I'm talking about, right? That's why we talked about a couple of minutes before. I try to have for every student something, right, we have to work on. And when I give a seminar, I give those students for 6 months material they can drill. 6 months. I have 2 gyms right now I supply, so I go there every 6 months and then I see how far they are, and I feel myself a lot, because you have to have the best. You cannot say, I fuck everybody up. I don't see no fucking private stuff besides B team is, accelerating a little bit. B team, is showing what they're doing. And I don't believe you shouldn't show what you can. It's bullshit. Because they don't have your timing. They don't put in the time. It doesn't matter, right? So you can show your techniques. In the beginning, when Eddie Bravo showed all the transparent stuff on YouTube and stuff, nobody liked it. But then you have to understand, you have to drill this shit like 5 to 10,000 reps before it's really in your system. So it doesn't matter anyway. That's why when I give a seminar as a teacher, so going back to what makes a good trainer, I give him something structured they can work on. They have some picture material as well. Everybody is green-lighted to film. I have nothing to hide. So if somebody is in my class, they're allowed to film. Only when we have competition class, we don't want to do this. And I think when you have this self-confidence as well, right? And look, and for me it's easier. People believe me now because I'm 59, the shit still works. Everybody tells me, oh, rubber guard doesn't work. Come to my place. If you're not heavier than 30 pounds than me, I will mess you up with rubber guard, just rubber guard. I'm still be able to do this. So because we have only a handful of rubber guard people who can do this for more than 2 years. You see sometimes people coming up because it's so important to do this edit training. You have to lift weights. Or it's not, hips is not going to take it. Your knee is not going to take it if you have enough muscle mass. And you have to do it anatomically correct. So if you do your traditional triangle where you pull the head and you look at the guy, you have groin muscles involved and you're in ACs. It's already bad. You should use your biceps. So that's the small details I look at. So to do the body positions perfect, I'm a very hands-on trainer as well. I show the technique not once, I would show it probably 10 times during the 45 minutes we're doing. And I go to every couple and show it themselves so they can feel it when they're beginners. Yeah. And that's how we advance pretty fast actually. I have one student now, he's 16 months in. He's right now cleaning up all the white belt brackets. But you have to understand, in Germany, they're sandbagging. You get a blue belt after 4 or 5 years here. It's total bullshit. I usually, if they're good and they compete at a good level and they show up 3-4 times a week, 24 months to 26 months, you'll be able to get your blue belt when you're on a regular basis there. And we have lots of success. We have lots of people who lose weight just because of my nutritional recommendation and the combination of the training, obviously, right? To be a good trainer, you should study too. I study every Sunday at least 3 hours. At YouTube, at Instagram, some new techniques which would fit in our system. So we have our own system now. We have, obviously the big system is 10th Planet, but we have our own side streets. I have a couple of, improvements. For example, electric chair. Most of the people use it only as a sweep now. And I figured out a way how it works 99% every time. You don't go above the knee, you go above the hip. With a gable grip, some small adjustments, right, which make a huge difference. And I took all the techniques out which fuck your knees up and your lower back. So we improved it because of my own problems too. I had my whole life, I have a Scheuermann disease, which is when you grow too fast. I'm 6'3", right? And you don't have the right nutrition. We were very poor back in the day, so I didn't have much to eat. And so I grew too fast. And so when my muscles don't support anymore, sometimes I have to lay for 2-3 days. Nothing is working anymore. And now I didn't have this problem for 6 years because I figured out how to train smart and go around this problem, right? So for me, as a good trainer, you should be a good white belt. You should pay attention. And sometimes my white belts do something wrong and I reconsider the technique. And I use their new approach because, you cannot have the mindset that, Now it's 20 years actually that I've been 10 years a black belt. I should be third degree already. Every 3 years you get your degree, right? Usually. So I don't know if I will ever get it because I go on the end of the year to HQ. I hope, right? But, who knows? But anyway, as a teacher, you should learn your whole life. And you don't have this mindset, your school will not thrive, 100% not. And you will not be able to have students who compete at a high level.
I'm so glad you brought up the white belt perspective because, I've talked to tons of black belts and oftentimes some of them admit, some don't. They've been doing it so long that they almost forget what it was like to be a white belt or what it was like to walk through that door the first time and what courage that took for some people. Because not everyone's the Germanator, right? Like some people are just normal, they just want to lose some weight or they want to do this thing, but they've never done anything like this. So to think of that experience, for those people after you've had 10, 20 years of jiu-jitsu, it's difficult. It seems like for some individuals, they forget, especially when you're doing classes every day, multiple times a day, they forget what it's like to be that day one person.
Dude, I'm still searching for some holy grails in my technique, right? And I developed at least 30 different things, which are really cool, right? And it should be. As a teacher, you should have this mind, 100%, right? So what my students, well, they have to be thankful, well, they're lucky. Let's take it this way. If they're very lucky because I had my first degree in sports medicine and in sports nutrition in 1987. So, and I have a degree in natural medicine since I've been 26. So more than, already 33 years I've been a natural practitioner. I'm living a healthy lifestyle since then. That's a result without, operations and without steroids and everything. Because look, my goal is to be like Helio, to be able to teach classes until I die. I think he taught classes 4 weeks before he passed away, I think, right? So that's my goal, because I'm not going to get any retirement anyway in Germany. To be a martial arts teacher here, dude, it's a pretty poor life, but it's a happy life. I love what I'm doing. Every morning I wake up, if it's Sunday, sure, I need my rest, my 1.5 days. Usually I go in the sauna, but hardcore, like 100 degree and then try to be like more than an hour inside. So my growth hormones, build up, right? So I try to eat hormones smart, and I try to do everything in my power to harness my natural growth hormones and to produce my own testo and everything. And my testo was being tested last time 7 months ago. It's like 25 years old. I don't have any respect, for somebody who has fucking 10 or 12 or 20 world champion titles when it was because of PEDs. Sorry, but that's my personal opinion, right? I'm like, what's happening right now is disgusting. Even small competitions, like here in Berlin, right? This grappling industries, dude, half of the high-level competitioners, you can tell 100% they're on roids. And for nothing. Think about it. First of all, they ruin their health. They're going to be at my age in no fucking time. And so, I want a couple of people who asked me 15 years ago if I would take it. And I told them, no, you're going to pay the price 10, 15 years later. And all those people who didn't listen to me, they paid the price 10, 15 years later.
Yeah, we've had a young competitor here who just got popped.
Mickey got
maybe. I'm not going to name names, but yeah, maybe. Yeah. Based on the, the usage, they can track it back to like possibly 14 years old. And I'm like, can you believe that?
In Germany, they're taking it 100%. I don't know where they're getting it from, but they're taking it. In my gym, we didn't have one person who took anything. For my members, right? Not talking people coming from outside. I don't even know what they're fucking taking. It's a shame, because for me, it's a healthy lifestyle. Jiu-jitsu is not about just, messing people up on the streets, right? So for me, it's bringing people together. For me, it should heal the world. For me, it's absolute craziness. And it's sad, since money started to happen in grappling, people started using like crazy. But look, back in the day already, they called it replacement therapy, right? I had always to compete. When I was in the over 40 years old class, they all had their replacement therapy. But the good part is, I still outwork them, because I still have the same strength like them, because I fucking worked out like a lunatic. I'm still working out high intensity hit, but not more than 40 minutes. When I do my circuit training, because then you start to destroy testo, I go up to 35, 40 minute high intensity, lots of calisthenics and sandbags and stuff, and it really helps. And rest, you got to rest smart, no partying. Alcohol will mess you up with your recovery, will fuck with your recovery. High sugar will fuck with your recovery. So you are what you eat.
Was there ever a time that you wanted to quit, and why?
Yeah, dude, it destroyed my financial life, my private life. Look, I made some serious money before, but I realized so many people at my age are already dead, or they cannot do shit anymore. They're on 5 different pills, right? Medication and stuff. And driving a Porsche for what? They cannot even take a blue pill. That's how bad their condition is, right? So it's like, no, dude, that was never my goal. My goal was live an adventurous, rich life, right? So that was always my goal, right? When I was young, what's your goal? So to have an adventurous, sometimes it was too adventurous. I moved in my life 27 times. So I'm like a gypsy, right? At 27 different places to stay. Could have owned already 2 homes with the money I spent it on those fucking places. But I have some really cool stories to tell. When I was in LA, I was a bouncer at an after-hour club called the Continental between Argyle and Yucca. At one night, I made close to $3,000 in cash. I must have been the fucking highest paid fucking bouncer in the history of LA. Probably somebody tipped another bouncer 10,000 or whatever, right? But just telling you, right? It was crazy. For 16 months, we had after hour parties, but it was a production company, right? So we had like from Kiefer Sutherland over, I don't want to name other names, but Kiefer, I know he's a cool guy, and he mentioned it in one interview that he was there, so it's okay, right? I was smart enough to get a small piece of the action, right? So that's why I made tons of money. So yeah, that's how I supported myself going to LACC, to acting school and, to pay all my expenses. Because I didn't have a real work permit, only as an actor. I was not an actor, I just needed to have a visa. That's why I went to acting school. I got some C and D level movie parts. But look, as a German, it was difficult to get a job anyway.
What do you wish you were better at in jiu-jitsu, and where do you want your game to go?
Oh, You know, you cannot ask a very self-confident, arrogant guy why he wants to be better. So I wish I would be higher level at wrestling because I started so late. But in the other hand, because I was not as good in wrestling, it forced me to work on counters and, you know, counter chokes and stuff like this. So we have like some of the coolest single leg and double leg reversals and counters where we can take people right away in deep waters, right? I love all the techniques in jiu-jitsu. I love the agility, but I never, you know, really paid attention to gi training yet. So when I get 10 years, when I'm turning 70, if I turn this old, I probably start training in the gi.
Oh, cool. I can't wait to see that.
But it's going to be another 11 years. It's not like I never wore a gi, right? They put already a gi on me and I still use the rubber guard even more effective because, you know, it couldn't slip out and stuff, right? But I know what a cross choke is. I know what a, you know, Aaron Barrow choke is. I'm not going to fall for this stuff. But yeah, that's why I don't have any cauliflower ears yet because I didn't work in a gi, right? So I got lucky so far.
Your thoughts on the future of jiu-jitsu? What do you predict and what are the trends that you're seeing?
Right now I'm seeing sadly a trend that it gets watered down more and more. Like back in the day, judo. Judo was a complete martial arts style until 1964 when it became Olympic. Before 1964 you had even leg locks in judo. You know, look it up. My first style was judo, but, you know, I had an old teacher who still knew leg locks and stuff. I have the feeling that sadly jiu-jitsu, sports jiu-jitsu is going the same direction. So they're taking more and more stuff out. You know, IBJJF, now you can do heel hooks, finally, right? But that was like, they took out, you cannot do the scissor leg takedown, all this stuff, because they were scared of Sambo guys. You could not wear a cup because they were scared of judo guys who were too explosive for armbars. So I hope that jiu-jitsu goes in a direction where it's the highest art that can be. You know, that small, petite people can defend themselves against football players who are on steroids with technique. And I hope it goes in a direction where people are able to live off jiu-jitsu competition without having to use steroids. And I hope they're going to go in the direction. I don't know if it goes, but the problem is, look, now think everybody would be tested. Then they would not fucking use the shit anymore. And still the guy who has the most talent and has the best work ethic, right, would probably win. Gordon Ryan, for me, I feel sorry for the kid now. Because look at him, he's 27 years old. The guy looks like 40 now. Look at his kidneys, it's all swollen up, the eyes are smaller than mine now. I mean, you could see a picture. He posed himself when he was like 21, and now he's 27. And his stomach problems started when? When he started using this shit. And who worked with him? Danaher. Who worked with George St. Pierre? Danaher. And did George St. Pierre have any stomach and colon related problems? Yeah. So yeah, dude, I'm done. It's sad. It's just, for me, it's absolute sad. I hope that this is gonna go away. I hope every competition gonna be able to test. I hope the test gonna be so cheap and it's gonna happen, right? You can be able to test somebody for 10 euros, probably already, right? But they make it so expensive. Same with the Corona. I'm not saying bullshit because I don't want to hurt anybody, but it was the same stuff, right? So the first test was super expensive. Now you can buy them for 3 euros. It was like 50 or 60 euros, right? So I hope they're going in a clean direction. But I hope they're realizing jiu-jitsu didn't start just as a self-defense system. It was a lifestyle, a healthy lifestyle. So I hope they go back to the roots. That's my personal wish. And I hope I can contribute at least a little bit. I can be still fit in 10 years or hopefully when I continue this kind of lifestyle. And I do everything in my power to push jiu-jitsu in a healthy direction, not in a sick direction, right? So that's like my biggest goal.
Your thoughts on the new talent, like the new kids rising up? They've had the benefit of things that we never had, like they can watch your videos on YouTube and you're all the way in Germany. They've been training since much younger age. Your thoughts on the kids now and what are you seeing?
What a paradise, huh? Isn't it crazy? But the problem is with online and with those courses, it distracts your students.
So you don't see it as like an add-on?
If I have an empty class, He never did jiu-jitsu in his life. Most of the guys who come at my school didn't even do martial arts. No martial arts experience, right? And you come to my class and you have been there for 3 months, 12 weeks, for example. They're like, yeah, can you show me this and this technique? Or which technique? Yeah, can you show me the honey hole, to the back take and the rear naked choke? Say, no. So why? You don't know? Say, sure I know. But you're going to work on your basics. I'm teaching you right now. I don't want to see any YouTube or anything, any distraction. Just trust the process right now. And then, you come with questions when you have your own. You're starting to have your own game. And you can ask me, if you should add this, if it's even worth your time adding it. Or it's some crazy stuff, some kung fu moves, some jumping moves. If it's a low percentage and it's high percentage, you get injured or you injure your opponent or your training partner. So they cannot judge yet because they don't have the tools to judge. That's my responsibility as a teacher, to bring this point across. My life partner is a prime example. When she was a white belt, she thought already she is a brown belt with 2 stripes after 2 years, right? And so then we had the first reality check when we had the first competition, yeah? So she had four matches and she lost 3. And she was already crying and didn't want to go on the mats anymore. And I pushed her on the mats and she submitted the 4th opponent, right? This is stuff we did in class, right? And from then, there was no going back. She just got a blue belt a couple of months ago. If you put in the right time, if you teach, you have your curriculum, you have your list of where you have to go through, I think you don't have to look at YouTube in the beginning. It only distracts. And the good part is I made an experiment. I let some of the students do their own shit and the other ones had to do exactly what I told them. And guess what? The guys who listened were super successful, the other ones not. And now they are listening. So I'm not like a total dictator. I'm saying, look, now you can. Yeah, but you don't never take fucking YouTube video in my class and try to drill it during my class. That's not gonna fly. And you're absolutely right. It was back in the day. It was bad for an armbar defense. Somebody asked me to pay $200 for a private. You don't need this anymore, right? And you're right. If you have somebody who is cool and you have an instructional, as I mentioned in the beginning, I did my first year just with Bas Wooten DVDs, and I was already far advanced with leg locks because of the DVDs than other people back in the day in transparent system. So it makes sense, but only to a certain degree. Because now you have to learn how to pass, right? The invisible jiu-jitsu, right? How to use the hips, all this stuff. This will come along. And now people open their eyes. But it's another thing too. I'm not teaching one pass or one technique. I always do a whole chain of submissions. And in the chain of submissions, we also cover the path and the pathway to it. And if there are obstacles, how to use a side street to another technique or other stuff. So I didn't have much help, right? I could not go to HQ because I could not go to America for 10 years. Now I can again, right? I'm so happy about it. And financially it was very difficult to do it too, right? So I had to listen to other instructors as well and to educate myself in certain ways where I was not 100%. You're never 100% anywhere in jiu-jitsu anyway. But, so now I think we have a 360 system. Always my goal was to have a circle, 360, and at every degree, 2 or 3 submissions. We're still working on this one. And on counterattacks and. That's why I think it's really important to trust your teacher too. You should take a couple of classes in different gyms and figure out for yourself. Is he passionate enough to go with you to competition? Is he screaming his fucking lungs out and fighting for you? I'm the guy. In grappling industries, they hate me. Every coach hates me. Because their students cannot listen to their teachers because I'm over screaming like a crazy guy. And last one, we had like 2 weeks ago, Grappling Industries from 8:30 to 9 p.m. Dude, I was done, son. I was so done. And my girl was competing as well, right? So I I was wet until here, just because I could not fight, right? So I'm like sitting there and try to coach a white belt who doesn't know fucking shit. You get nuts, right? But that's telling you, I think it's important too, that you fight for your students no matter what. So if they have me in a corner, they know they have me in a corner. And I'm not sleeping somewhere at the bench or something, yeah? And I have a very good supporting system. We have amazing students. I'm very happy about this. So money for me is right now, if I'm able to survive, I'm okay, right? So I didn't drive a car for 10 years because I couldn't afford one. Can you imagine? So I was on welfare for the first 7 years. I was bad, partially. I made some money, but it was not enough to pay for health insurance. You have to pay. You have to have health insurance in Germany and stuff. For my ego, far down. But I still did it. I got kicked out of my old apartment because I didn't have money anymore. So I used a plastic cover, 20 square meters for my last shop, and we put it just on the green. And my students, who left with me when the first gym I was, we trained on the floor, dude. We trained on rubber. And 5 of my students always stick to me. 5 out of 100. Now we are almost up to 100 again. When we're over 100, I will be able to make money again. So another situation in Germany is you don't get a place for like $1,000 or $2,000 here. Forget about it. It's Berlin, even the outskirts. I pay for my small gym just to rent it 3,000 euros. It's like $3,300 right now, plus insurance, plus energy costs. Before it was $200, now it's $600 because Germany is so smart, right? But look, if you have a dream, it doesn't matter if you make money. And I don't count my success because I'm financially successful right now. My success is I had 2 people who were suicidal. I got back. I had 3 guys who were alcoholics, who are not alcoholics anymore. Those are my small victories. And that people feel like home. They have a totally different mindset. They all improve their health because, they're losing dead weight and they're eating healthier. That's exciting to me. And obviously they're keeping me young because I'm the oldest in my gym. So I know the American, listeners, most of you guys, your listeners are from America, from the USA. Just want to, tell everybody how lucky you guys are to be in this country. So you have all the opportunities. If you're in California or in the USA anyway, jiu-jitsu is big. I hope we will be there one day. And I'm very happy. For me, America is my second home. Everyone I met there, I had like the best experience in my life, and I'm very grateful. And I will be back, like the Germanator says always. I will be back, and if I'm still alive and I can move my limbs, I will be at the Worlds, And the guys who competing there at over 50, they're ready for me. They better fucking train 3 times a day. And they take as many steroids and growth hormones they want. I don't take shit, I take my water. So, I wanted you to, Adolfo,
Yes.
Thank you very much, first of all. And I hope I'm going to see you, brother, in LA, when I'm in LA. And so I'm going to definitely be in contact. And if you're ever in Berlin or any one of your listeners, we take drop-ins. Every affiliation is welcome. We don't, make any difference. For me, every grappler is a brother or a sister.
You better go easy on me, Ralf.
I'm an old guy. I'm 59.
Well, Ralf, where can the listener get more information about you, brother, and everything that you're up to?
The best way to get me is probably just Google me at Ralf Warneking and just look up 10th Planet Berlin. You find much more information about me there. And obviously Instagram. If you write me a personal message, I always subscribe, but I don't subscribe to strangers, right? So if somebody sends me a message and he communicates, I definitely going to subscribe, 100%. I love America. I love the whole world. I hope we will have peace, and I wish you the best of luck and health. Those are the 2 most important things, and I hope I see you soon, buddy.
You bet. So everyone out there, thanks so much for watching and listening out there. I'm your host, Adolfo Ferranda. Don't forget, consider becoming a VIP member. It's only $1 a month. And, give us the 5-star reviews, thumbs up and subscribe. Check us out on YouTube now. We're there. We will see you guys next time. Ralf, I can't, tell you what an honor this is to finally connect with you and have this conversation with you. Thanks so much for your time.
Very nice of you, and goodbye, my friend. Yeah, us.
Take care. See you guys.